It's been a great evening today. We've had a panel discussion which has looked at Sikh history and heritage. We had Dr. Opinderjit earlier on, and we had Susan Strong from the V&A. I think the actual kind of day has gone really well. We have now launched the Anglo Sikh Virtual Museum, which allows people to actually see objects in the comfort of their own home and within virtual reality as well. So the Sikh Museum Initiative has been working really hard with a number of museums and private collectors to ensure that we've been able to digitize all these objects which have kind of been hidden from the mainstream.
The digitalization in 3D of Sikh artifacts and relics represents something very special for us. It allows our youngsters, our elders, the Sikh community and the non-Sikh community to access Sikh objects, artifacts and relics 24/7. It also provides a platform for us to permanently store some of these most valuable artifacts, which otherwise aren't on public display, which otherwise could disappear to foreign countries, could be sold off. This is a permanent digital record of those artifacts.
We've had an absolutely wonderful night speaking about the importance and value of digital technology and the way in which we can use that technology to bring history to life, to share it with different generations, with the younger generations, but also inspire and enthuse the next generation of historians to engage with history.
Sikhism and Buddhism are brushed upon at my school because they're not really talked about as much as other religions like they should be. And that's why I feel the virtual reality for the Anglo Sikhs and many other things like that about other religions that are not taught about at schools should be.
This kind of resource is absolutely essential if we want to engage the wider society with Sikh history, with wider Anglo-Sikh history, Anglo-Indian history. And what's really interesting about today is how it's been so interactive with the audience, and the questions from the audience have been absolutely mind-blowing in the sense that they've pointed towards future directions in terms of how do we keep this kind of inspiration going to learn about Anglo-Sikh history. Schools don't really teach about it much. Universities, there's only a select number of universities which actually delve into Indian history, let alone Sikh, Anglo-Sikh history. So projects like this are absolutely essential in order to be able to keep that passion and motivation going.
Maharaja Daljit Singh, who is the last king, the last Maharaja of the Sikhs, who was taken by the British here in England at age 9, what's important to remember is that he reverted back to Sikhism, back to Sikhi, and went back towards India to reclaim his land. And in that process, he sold his land, his buildings, and a lot of his jewellery and artifacts, which have now ended up in collections here in the UK. And he sold them to try and finance to get his land back in what he thought was rightfully his own Sikh kingdom. He was intercepted in the Middle East, and he was unable to do that and taken, and then he went to Paris. He couldn't face going back to the UK, having not succeeded in his mission to get the land back. And unfortunately he passed away in Paris, but is buried even to this day in Thetford in the east of England. So our king, you have to remember, the Sikhs don't realise how significant this is. Our last king is buried here in the UK. His grave is in Thetford, and it's well worth a visit. See there, and his family are buried there as well. And also in Thetford, his son, Prince Freddie, gave the building to the town, to Thetford town, as a museum. So that museum exists thanks to the Maharaja's family. And it's important to commemorate that, to celebrate that, and this is part of our British Sikh identity.